I still remember the sound of my son's breath, the way it rattled, soft, shallow, fading. He was only 6. I was holding him in my arms, kneeling on the edge of the street, screaming for help. But no one came fast enough. Blood soaked my shirt. His little fingers gripped mine like he was afraid to let go. "Daddy," he whispered. And then, silence. That silence still echoes inside me. But what haunts me even more? While my son took his last breath in my arms, his mother, my wife, was laughing at her ex's birthday party. Not crying. Not running to the hospital. Not even answering her phone. She was dancing, drinking, taking selfies. With him. The man she swore she had no feelings for. The man who once tried to destroy our marriage. I watched the security footage later because I needed to know where she was, what she was doing while I begged God to save our son. I saw her smiling. That smile killed me more than anything else. And when she finally showed up at the hospital 3 hours later, with makeup perfectly done and the smell of champagne on her breath, I knew I'd never look at her the same way again. Because some betrayals aren't about lies, they're about absence, about not being there when it mattered most. And now, I want to tell you everything. Because before that day, I thought I had a family. A wife who loved me, a future I could trust. But death has a way of showing you the truth, even if it rips you apart. My name is Arman. I'm 34 years old, a civil engineer by profession, and a father by heart, through and through. Before everything fell apart, my life was simple, predictable, happy even. I met Ayesha when we were both fresh out of university. She was smart, stunning, and had a laugh that made people in the room turn around. The kind of woman who walked into your life like sunshine and made you forget you'd ever lived in the dark. I fell for her fast, maybe too fast. She had ambition, charm, and 1,000 dreams in her eyes. And when she said she wanted to build a life with me, I believed her. How could I not? She made everything feel magical. We got married within a year. Everyone said we were rushing it, but when you're in love, time doesn't feel real. It just floats around you like a soft promise. And for a while, it was perfect. We built a home together, laughed late into the night, burned food trying to cook together and danced in the kitchen while cleaning up the mess. Then came our son, Sufyan. He was our world, our glue, the one thing that made everything else seem small. The first time I held him in my arms, I cried. Not from fear, or confusion, or exhaustion, but from something deeper. A kind of love I didn't know I had the capacity to feel. A love that made me promise I'd protect him no matter what. For the first few years, Ayesha seemed just as in love with motherhood as I was with fatherhood. She stayed home for a while, took endless pictures of him, and even painted his tiny footprints on a canvas that still hangs in our hallway. But slowly, things changed. She started going out more. Late dinners, girls' nights, then work events, then business meetings that turned into overnight trips. I didn't question it at first. She had always been ambitious, and I respected that. But Sufyan would ask me sometimes, "Why doesn't Mama tuck me in anymore?" And I didn't have an answer. We still had good days, the family trips, the smiles for social media, the polished life we showed the world. But behind closed doors, there were cracks. Small ones at first, missed calls, unexplained silences, arguments that started over nothing and ended in cold shoulders. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that every couple goes through it. I held on because of Sufyan, because I believed in our vows, because I still remembered the girl I fell in love with. But the woman standing in front of me now, she felt like a stranger wearing Ayesha's face. Still, I stayed. Because that's what fathers do. They stay. They fight. They hold things together. For their child. But some storms don't care how hard you fight. Some storms just tear everything down. And I didn't know it then. But mine was already on the horizon. It was a Thursday evening. Just an ordinary night. Or so I thought. I had stayed late at the office, finishing a project deadline. When I finally got home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Sufyan's toys scattered on the floor, the TV still flickering a cartoon he must have left behind. But Ayesha? She wasn't home yet. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was out running errands, or meeting a friend. Then my phone buzzed. A message. From a number I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. "Are you coming tonight? It's going to be fun. Don't keep me waiting." No name. No clue who it was from. I showed it to Ayesha when she finally walked in hours later. Late, flushed, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. She laughed it off, saying it was probably some spam message. But something inside me didn't feel right. That night, I found myself lying awake, listening to the quiet hum of the city outside, wondering what she was doing. The next day, I decided to check her phone when she left for work. I know it sounds wrong, but my gut was screaming. Scrolling through her messages, my heart started to pound. There were texts from a man, someone named Zane. At first, the messages were innocent. Work talk, casual greetings, but then the tone changed. Late-night messages, heart emojis, plans to meet. I froze. Could it be? I wasn't ready to believe what my eyes saw, but the signs were there. The warmth between them in every text. The way she called him Zine with a smile on her face. That night, I asked her about it. She denied everything. Said Zane was just a colleague, just a friend. But her eyes told a different story. There was guilt there. Fear. I wanted to believe her. For Sufyan's sake. For my own. But doubt had taken root. From that moment on, our home felt different. Cold. Full of secrets. Every message notification made my stomach twist. Every silence between us was heavy with things unsaid. And yet, I kept pretending. Pretending everything was normal. Because if I confronted her too soon, if I pushed too hard, I feared what I might lose. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of a nightmare I wasn't prepared for. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Late at night, the glow of her phone screen lighting up her face. The way she smiled at his texts like they were secret jokes, only they understood. "Is this really happening?" I whispered to the dark room. I kept replaying every moment, every smile, every word between us, trying to find a reason to believe it wasn't true. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe Zane was just a friend. Maybe Ayesha still loved me. But the more I told myself that, the louder the voice inside my head screamed that something was wrong, that I was losing her. One evening I found myself standing in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection, asking, "Am I enough? Am I still the man she fell in love with?" I remembered how she used to look at me, eyes full of warmth and trust. Now, when she looked at me, it was like I was invisible. I tried talking to her. "Are we okay?" I asked quietly one night. She shrugged, avoided my gaze. "Just tired," she said. But I wasn't convinced. Days passed, and the distance between us grew. I felt like a stranger living under the same roof. Sufyan didn't understand either. "Daddy, why does Mama look sad sometimes?" he asked, tugging at my sleeve. I swallowed the lump in my throat and hugged him tight. "I don't know, buddy, but we'll be okay." I wanted to believe that, but the truth was slipping through my fingers. I questioned myself constantly. Was I being paranoid? Was I overthinking? Or was this the beginning of the end? One night, unable to hold it anymore, I confronted her again. "Ayesha, please, Just tell me the truth. Is there someone else? She looked at me with tired eyes. I'm not happy anymore, Arman, she said softly. Those words hit me like a slap. Not happy? What about Sufyan? What about us? But what about our family? Our son? I whispered. She looked away. I don't know, she said. I wanted to scream, to beg, to plead, but all I could do was stand there, broken. I didn't want to lose her. Not like this. But the cracks were spreading, and no matter how hard I tried to hold them together, I feared they would shatter everything. And the worst part? I still didn't know the full truth. The day I decided to follow Ayesha is burned into my memory forever. I told myself it was for Sufyan, for our son, because I needed to know the truth. That morning she left the house early, saying she had a meeting. But instead of going to her office, she got into a car with Zayn. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't turn away. I kept my distance, heart pounding, hands shaking. They drove out of the city, down winding roads I didn't recognize, and then they stopped at a small cafe by the river. She got out, laughing, like she hadn't a care in the world. Zayn reached for her hand, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. They looked like a couple, happy, alive. I felt my chest tighten as I watched from behind a tree. I wanted to scream, to run to her and demand answers, but I stayed silent, swallowing my pain. Then, the worst part, her phone rang. She answered it quietly. It was a call from me. 3 missed calls, all desperate and panicked. She glanced at the screen, then looked away without a word. That night, I waited at home, my mind racing. When she finally came back, I confronted her again. This isn't just work, is it? I said, voice breaking. She looked at me, eyes tired but defiant. No, Arman, she whispered. I don't love you anymore. Those words were knives twisting in my heart. But then she dropped the real bombshell. I'm pregnant, she said. Not with me. With him? Zayn? Everything shattered in that moment. The woman I trusted, the mother of my child, carrying someone else's baby. I wanted to break down, to cry, to rage, but all I could do was numb out. I felt betrayed, lost, and completely alone. And that's when I knew. I wasn't just fighting for my family anymore. I was fighting for my own survival, because some wounds cut deeper than anyone can see, and some betrayals change everything. I couldn't hold it in any longer. That night, I stood in the living room, trembling with anger and pain. Ayesha walked in, exhausted and distant, like she was carrying the weight of the world. Sufyan is asleep, I said, voice low but steady. We need to talk. She didn't answer, just looked away. I know everything, I whispered, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. The meetings, the texts, Zayn, and the pregnancy. Her eyes finally met mine, wide, scared, vulnerable. I'm sorry, Arman, she said, voice breaking, but I never meant for this to happen. I stepped closer, fists clenched. How could you? I asked, voice cracking. How could you betray us? Betray me? Tears streamed down her cheeks. I was lost, she said. I didn't know who I was anymore. You were always working, always busy. I felt invisible. Her confession stabbed me like a knife. I wasn't the perfect husband I thought I was. Maybe I had failed her, but that didn't make this any easier. Then she dropped the final blow. I'm leaving, she said softly. For good. My heart shattered. Sufyan, what about him? I choked out. She shook her head. I don't know if I can be the mother he needs. I collapsed onto the couch, exhausted and broken. Please, I begged, don't leave us. She hesitated, tears falling freely now. I'm sorry, Arman. I have to find myself before I can be a mother. That night she packed her bags, left me with a silent house and a broken son who didn't understand why mommy was gone. And me, standing alone in the wreckage of everything I thought was real. The house felt emptier than ever. Ayesha was gone. Sufyan kept asking questions I couldn't answer. "Where's Mama, Daddy?" I'd swallow the lump in my throat and smile weakly. "She's away for a while, buddy, but Daddy's here." I became both mother and father, trying to fill the void she left behind. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I threw myself into work, trying to escape the pain. But no matter how far I ran, memories of her haunted me. Her laughter echoing down the hallways, the warmth of her hand in mine. Now, just a ghost. One evening, as I tucked Sufyan into bed, he looked up with wide eyes. "Daddy, will Mama come back?" I hesitated. "Sometimes people need to find themselves first," I said softly. "But no matter what, I'll always be here for you." That night, I sat alone, staring at the empty side of our bed. I realized something. Maybe love isn't always enough. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But maybe it's also the love that teaches us to be stronger. I wiped my tears and made a silent promise. For Sufyan, for myself, I would rebuild, I would heal, and someday I would find happiness again. Because life doesn't stop when your world falls apart. It just changes, and so did I. But as the months passed, a message appeared on my phone. From an unknown number. "We need to talk. It's about Sufyan." A shiver ran down my spine. Some stories never truly end.